Hi BookTube, Aaron here. Hope you're doing okay. Today I'm going to talk a bit about what I read in September and what I'm planning to read next month in October. And September was actually a really good reading month. I'm kind of quite surprised really at how well how well I did, considering I was away and I don't always read that much when I'm away on holiday and with family and stuff because I'm spending more time with people and occupying my time, in other ways. But I did a lot of reading actually on that holiday, and I've done a lot since, even though work has been very busy. And so, yeah, September's been quite good and really jam packed. And weirdly enough, it hasn't flown by. Time seems to have slowed down a little bit in September, which is quite interesting. And I finished, I think, 8 books, and quite a few of them are quite short, so um, it's not a massive achievement, but it's still a nice thing to look at and see. I finished 8 books in a month. The first one though is super short. It's The Nightingales Are Drunk by Hafez. I mentioned this in a like a random reading update video I did about halfway through the month. So if you want to hear a bit more about it and what I thought, then go check that out. And it'll be the same case for the next 3 books, I think. So I'll just run through them quickly. There was the major works of Sir Thomas Browne, so sort of essays on more or less everything. If on a Winter's Night a Traveller by Italo Calvino. And this was it was following a kind of rabbit hole I was going down after reading A History of Reading by Alberto Manguel. So it just seemed like some of Manguel's preoccupations were kind of in line with Calvino's, and both of them I think were kind of in line with people like Umberto Eco and Borges as well, and so there'll be some echo later on. I reread a poetry collection that I really like called Like by A.E. Stallings, and with it being Shakespeare, everyone's reading Shakespeare, and in the back of my head I made a kind of informal plan to reread some poets whose last name starts with S. So we have A.E. Stallings, we have Tracy K. Smith, Duende, which I thought was okay. I prefer Sci-Fi, the other poetry collection I've read by her, but there's still some really good poems in here, but as a whole package, didn't like it quite so much. And I read War of the Beasts and the Animals by Maria Stepanova. This is translated by Sasha Dugdale, and this is actually really this was a really interesting experience where I was quite dazzled by this collection the first time through. So I read it in November last year, and then I reread it this month, and still enjoyed it. I feel like I understood it a little bit more, and it's, I suppose, a bit of a kind of Russian sort of identity crisis, I suppose. And this was a lot of the poems in here were after the sort of initial sort of conflict in the Crimea. When was that? Sort of in the early 2010s, somewhere around there. And so it seems even more poignant now with where things are at. And then this is also one I'll breeze through. I also read Hamlet for Shakespeare. I've just made a dedicated video to Hamlet, so I'll try to remember to link to that and my other updates if you want a bit more detail. And then that's the majority of the books that I finished. There's just one more that's taken a couple of weeks or so to read, and it was a really fun experience, and that's Baudolino by Umberto Eco, or Baudolino. I suppose in Italian it would be Baudolino. And this was a lot of fun, very different in tone to The Name of the Rose, but really surprising as well. The last kind of 50 pages or so I was not expecting, and just brought the whole thing in terms of plot and in terms, sort of thematically, kind of brought it all together. So that was really, really fascinating. It's about a guy called Baudolino who is a really good liar, and he's good at making up stories. And he uses his stories and his lies in a way to support the truth. So even if he's saying something that's wrong, he's trying to use it for good ends, and he's trying to use it to back up something that everyone else agrees is true. And it kind of goes through a lot of the sort of fictions and legends and tall tales of the Middle Ages. And so there's all the weird things people believed about sort of the weird creatures you might find in the Far East, and all the stuff to do with relics, sort of saints' bones and shards of the true cross, and stuff like that. And it kind of delves deep into the kind of aura of that sort of stuff. And yeah, I'm not not entirely sure what to think of it. It did take quite a while to get going, but actually by the end I was really, really pleased with it, and yeah, definitely wasn't a disappointment. So of the two Umberto Eco novels that I've read, it's been pretty good so far. And I would say, so with Name of the Rose, that's one where very early in the book you realise you're in a medieval setting, but it's a murder mystery, and as it progresses you're realising it's like no other murder mystery, really. And then this, it's kind of a Bildungsroman, or a kind of picaresque kind of thing. Sort of it's almost like David Copperfield in the Middle Ages. And then right near the end, you realise this is also a murder mystery. You just hadn't quite clocked it up until then. But that's just one of the many sort of plots and things going on in the book. And then there are three things that I'm working on at the moment that will see me through into October. I've been reading Sailing the Forest, the selected poems of Robertson, which has been really, really lovely. I really like his poems. I had never heard of him when I picked this book up, so it was pure chance, and I really, really like it. So I'll try and sort of share a little bit of him for a Poetry Thursday at some point. I've also slowly been making my way through the Inferno. I think I'm a little bit behind. I haven't been getting to it as often as I'd like, but my emphasis is going on with a very, very slow pace, and just trying to understand each canto as well as I can as I make my way through. So I've been really enjoying it, but I'm taking it very slowly. So I'm sure this will just be cropping up and letting you know it's still here with a lot of these monthly wrap-ups. And then this is another one that will take me a while, so I'm sure you'll see a lot of it. It's The House of Government by Yuri Slezkine. And this has been really, really fascinating. It's the kind of non-fiction book that I just have to take very, very slowly. But I've been finding it fascinating so far. There's a great chapter in here called The Faith, which, I don't know, for a long while I had asked the question, like, is Marxism, or any sort of political idealism, is that basically just the same as a religion? Is it a kind of secular religion? And that's basically the question that Yuri Slezkine is asking in that chapter, and it's just a very quick overview of religion, but particularly through the lens of sort of revolution, and how religion might change the world sort of actively and sort of physically, and sort of the kind of politics of religion. So that was a really cool chapter. I really enjoyed that. But yeah, it's really opened my eyes to a lot of what was going on in the Russian Revolution, because it's something I've never looked into in a particularly in-depth way. So that was really, really fascinating. So those three books will bring me through into October. And then for the books I want to read in October, I really haven't committed to a lot. There's not a lot that I'm sure that I'm going to read. I mean, House of Government will take up a lot of time. And there are two books that I definitely want to read in October. And one of them will definitely take me quite a while, and I'm quite happy to take my time with it. And it's going to be a buddy read, so that's going to be good. So I'm going to be reading The Magic Mountain by Thomas Mann, and I'll be buddy reading it with Anne Novella. So that'll be really fun. I haven't done a buddy read with her yet, and so I'm looking forward to doing that. It'll be my second time through with this, so I have no idea how long we're going to take. A little while ago, I think we messaged and said that we're going to just start reading it on October the 1st, and then we'll we'll see how it goes. Maybe a kind of a pattern, a pace will strike up as the month progresses, but I'm looking forward to this. And it's just, I think I recently put it in a video where it was just one of those big fat books that I read that almost instantly after finishing it I knew I had to reread it at some point. And so I'm just looking forward to seeing what I notice that's different this time through. And then the other book I'd like to read is Wuthering Heights by Emily Brontë, and this is going to be for Victober. And I think this might tick a few of the prompts for Victober. It's certainly got a unfamiliar character, sort of a new person coming into a community, and that's sort of how the whole story is framed. And I'm really looking forward to reading it. It's been a while since I've read Wuthering Heights, and I picked this sort of Penguin Deluxe edition up a while ago, and I've been meaning to reread it since. So I'm really looking forward to getting to it. So a fair bit of rereading in October. When it comes to poetry, when I'm done with Robin Robertson, I think it'll just be mood reading. I'll just pick up whatever seems to be calling me on the shelves, and I think I'll do something similar with short stories as well. But I've narrowed it down, I think, to about 4 authors. There might be more, but I'd quite like to get to Akutagawa at some point. I've got a collection of his short stories. I've been meaning to get back to Chekhov for quite a while, so I might read a couple of Chekhov stories. October is October, so Edgar Allan Poe's short stories are going to be celebrated, and anything by or about Edgar Allan Poe. I've got his complete stories here, so I might read a few Edgar Allan Poe stories, maybe a little later on into October when it's dark and wet and horrible, and I'll be enjoying it. And then maybe some Hemingway as well. I've been meaning to get to some more Hemingway short stories. And thinking about it, I keep Lydia Davis's collected short stories just next to the armchair, so that if I'm not in the mood to read anything else, then I've always got Lydia Davis to pick up as well. And that rounds us out. That's everything I read in September, everything I would like to read in October. So let's see how it goes. I'll leave it there. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you soon. Bye.